Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the March 26, 2024 Board of Supervisors meeting, special agenda meeting. We've got a number, not too much on the agenda today, number of items on consent calendar as normal, and then a couple other items. So we will move along here. I've asked Supervisor Kirk to please lead us in the pledge. Okay, I'm going to move to oral communications. And just as a reminder, when you come up to speak, you'll be coming up to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes. And for those that may not have spoken before, after 2 minutes, you'll hear a tone if you're still up there. And that means that you've got a minute left. And please be respectful of the people in the room and how you speak. So with that, I'd look for any member of the public or that wants to come up for oral communications. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to County of Tuolumne Corporation. I'm John Flynn. For the people, lady over here from our state senator, I'm John Flynn, your political watchdog. Take a bite out of crime. Arr, arr, arr. Okay, enough with that. All right, I'd like to talk about, and also good morning to the retirees of the California Attorney General's office in downtown Sacramento. Thank you for your service, your patriotism, and thank you for wonderful public servants. Thank you. All right, now I'd like to talk about, rehash what happened on February 27th. I was denied. I was reading a bulletin from February 26th of 2024, Monday. Said there was going to be, there was a comment on the outside bulletin board, threats to the public, threats to county, it said threats to county employees, county buildings, and or courthouse, but it didn't say any names. And they said, in consultation with Tuolumne County Sheriff Office, Bill Pulley, Sheriff Neil Evans, undersheriff, and David Viquez, captain, who's currently the sheriff now. And when I read on Monday, February 26th, it said that, there'd be closed session from 8 a.m. to 9, and then public comment, and then at 10 a.m., Sheriff Bill Pulley was retiring. Okay, 34 years of service. Anyways, I got here at 8:18, and finding out that you, David Goldenberg, had started the meeting. I was at the break time. You had stated that you had to pledge allegiance and public comment. I was denied my right to speak because I was going on the outside bulletin board. And then you asked for a public comment. It's all recorded on video. I don't think any of you are aware of this, but you were audio too. There was audio. And 40 seconds went by, but nobody showed up for public comment. Then you had closed door session, close to the public, and then you asked for again public comment. Well, then you had Ms. Dow come up. That's Carol Dow, D-O-W-D, Dowd, and she spoke, and she said there was a restraining order, and she'd like it extended out. And, that's serial communication. You're not allowed to do that. And then Ryan Campbell, you passed a note over to Jari Brandon, and he just slid it right over without even looking at it. Most people look at it, it's something. But you violated my civil rights, my First Amendment, freedom of speech, petition to redress of grievances. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? Good morning.
Hello, I'm Louis Schumacher from Upper Crystal Falls. I have a couple items I'd like to cover. One is there's a I'm finding that the notice of when consent items are being pulled is really too late. It occurs after public comment. And that has occurred on 3/5. On March 5th, the remodel of 60 Washington, I came well prepared with comments for it. And then after public comment was closed, I found out it got yanked from the consent column, so I don't get to comment, okay? And then on March 19th, I had comments for the agreement for $200K per year for 2 years, so $400K for office furniture, and that got pulled. I'd like to suggest that once the agenda goes public, that generally items cannot be pulled from the consent comment. Usually each item's opened up first for supervisor comments, so they should be able to easily just say this, this, and this, and then usually there'd be no reason, you could just vote it down. Open up for public comment where maybe some additional items would be taken in, like the 60 Washington Street thing. I know there's a consent item now, so I'm going to not go into that there, but that item does not match with some of my comments there. And I've really never had a chance for that. Ambulance facility thing, what happened last meeting there, and then I came up and I spoke about that, and then questions were answered after. But from what I can tell from the procedure, I'm not then allowed to come back and comment. I do have concerns about, they were saying like they're going to use 7,000 square feet, so they have housing and office space for 5 people. You can get ADU units around here very easily right now that are 700 square feet. And those are meant to hold basically 2 senior citizens, keep your parents on your same property. I don't know how housing for 5 members, 5 ambulance drivers that are staying, probably working a 4-day, 24 hours a day, justifies 7,000 square feet. So recommendations I have, better control of the agenda timing. So for instance, the last one to get to the ambulance one, they said it's going to be after lunch. I came after lunch, found out there was the EMS thing, and then I was really surprised at the end of that. They then had a half an hour break. That's almost like a second lunch. And so then I came back from that one. I'd like to suggest the putting together a 5-year capital facility plan, and that when we have items come up for the facility plans, that we actually point them towards there. It seems like our facility planning is haphazard. And I'd have other items, but I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Andy Merrill. I'm currently serving on Sonora City Council. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you. I'm not sure if the public knows, but I've been one of the vocal people complaining about Elsie's Pool and the encampment that was underneath the bridge next to the Peppery. And I just wanted to say thank you for, it took us less than a year to get that dealt with, which, I know that seems like a long time, but in government terms, that's kind of moving at light speed. A huge shout out to One Pile at a Time. I think the public-private cooperation between the Board of Supervisors, City Council, and our nonprofits, it works, and we could prove that. Also, huge shout out to Caltrans. As a guy that's hauled hundreds of pounds of human waste out of that area, I've led field trips down there, trying to bring awareness to the situation. It's huge. I really hope that we can continue this trend of rehabilitating some of our natural resources. It's not an easy thing to do by any stretch. And I just love how we got cooperation with the Solid Waste Committee to help reduce the overhead costs for One Pile at a Time. I just wanted to celebrate something today. That was a really big thing for me. It being on Sonora's doorstep, it's not my jurisdiction, but as we all know, with all the storms, all that stuff can wash down the river. So thank you for taking that problem seriously and having a real workable solution to rehabilitating our natural resources. So thank you for that.
And thank you for your kind words. Would anybody else like to speak? Yes. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, following Mr. Merrill, I would like to thank the Sheriff's Department for going out and cleaning up that mess that was at the library and the senior center. We had tents, we had pop-ups, we had garbage everywhere, we had naked people in the bathrooms at the library. I mean, it was just, it needed to be cleaned up. And I want to thank them for taking a weekend and getting it all cleaned up.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. I just want to talk about sulfur cyanide affecting our areas, our families, every member, the ecosystem. And this is a proof of sulfur cyanide for 14 years. It never rotted out. There's a big issue about the forest, our environment, our family, ourselves, individually. It's time to consider different kind of knowledge that nobody knows about so we can have a better life in every family. It's something to consider. It might not be very significant for many people because everybody is under an influence that don't let them see the reality that we're living. Everybody lives a different reality, and this is what's taking the planet to a different level. Our families, the kids. This is knowledge for the next generations that they're going to preserve the life here. Okay? We need to think about the kids growing up. We need to make something functional in the whole extensive of the world. So this is something to consider. We are in Taboo Hill, Colombia, and everybody's welcome to receive knowledge and wisdom and a lot of experience for every individual. It's time to share ideas so we can make this better for everyone. So something to consider. We're always open to share knowledge and wisdom to anybody so everybody can preserve the life and we can have a beautiful life. So it's real, it's evidence, and I've been following this problem for over 40 years, and I've learned so much about it. We can teach unified field in less than 10 minutes, which any educational system in the world cannot do. Thank you.
Sir, I was trying to understand what was the issue you were addressing? I didn't hear
Sulfur cyanide.
Sulfur cyanide?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We need to know more about this because it's affecting every single human here
Thank
in
you.
the planet. In the whole planet, not just this community that we care about. Conscious, love, families, united.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? Okay, seeing none, I'll close oral communications and we'll move on to staff reports. Is there any staff reports today? All right, I'm not seeing any staff reports, so I'll bring it back and have the clerk read the consent calendar. I do know that item number 5, staff asked that we pull that, so that one is going to be pulled. And I know a gentleman earlier on had concerns about items that get pulled, whether it be on the regular agenda or the consent portion. Sometimes there's things that just come up, and if we realize that there was a problem with a certain item and it needed corrective before we brought it back to the board, we pulled them, and unfortunately at the last minute. It's not by any intent to do it, it's just the circumstances. So, if the clerk could please read the consent calendar.
Item number 1, awarding an architectural design and construction services agreement to Four Creeks, Inc. for the remodel of Snell Street, Cedar Road, Highway 108, and Columbia Way properties in the amount of $710,300, and authorize the county administrator to sign all related documents. Item 2, approving the reappointment of Nancy Perry to the Oak Grove Cemetery District Board of Trustees with a term to expire on March 26, 2028. Item number 3, adopting Resolution 14-24, authorizing the submission of the RFFCP 2022 WIP Capacity Subgrant County of Tuolumne Grant to Sierra Nevada Conservancy, SNC, in the amount of $302,500, and authorizing the county administrator to sign all related documents. Item number 4, rejecting all bids for the Washington Street remodel project. Item number 6, approving a letter in opposition of AB 2561 McKinner regarding local public employee vacant positions.
Thank you. So for the board members, other than item 5, which was pulled by staff, which we won't hear today, is there any other item that you'd like to pull? Supervisor Kirk.
Yeah, item 1.
Item 1, okay. And any others from the board? Okay. So I'll look to the public for public comment. I'm sorry. Look to the board first for any comments on the consent calendar items. Supervisor Brandon.
Great. Is this on? Is the mic on? I don't think. There we go. I just wanted to do one comment, and thanks staff for bringing to our attention AB 2561. I think it's incredibly important what we have between government and organized labor in negotiating fair contracts. The challenge, what I wanted to put out with this, is something that especially for rural communities like ours, where we have a high vacancy rate, we're dealing with small amounts of money and annual growth. We do need to solve that issue, and I think we've made clear that we are doing our best to try and stand with our employees. But in this case, this is another mandate that really restricts the ability of counties to be able to do that and could jeopardize a lot of the program by putting another arbitrary kind of line in the sand that says once it crosses this threshold, regardless of whatever local conditions there are, that this is going to trigger. And most of the time, those things create vastly negative unintended consequences for areas like us where we're really we're trying to do a lot with very little. So I only wanted to make that comment that I appreciate this being on there because I think this is an example of well-intentioned legislation to solve a problem, but the real-world consequences are very negative for areas like ours.
Supervisor Campbell, did you have anything? Okay, I don't have any further comment other than I concur with Supervisor Brandon on item 6. Thank you. Okay, calling for public comment on the consent calendar items. This would be items 2, 3, 4, and 6. Is there any public comment for those items?
I want to comment just real quickly on item number 4, which is the Washington Street thing. I do agree with removing the bids, all of the bids, they're rejecting them, but I don't think the reasoning in the letter is quite appropriate. It was basically saying there was multiple plans and that they didn't do bids on the plans that you wanted. From what I did, when I looked at the thing and the cost of it, that one was $1.3 million for remodel. It just did not make sense to me whatsoever. So kind of in the opening comments I mentioned, I'd really like to see like a 5-year plan, or I'd like to know what are we paying lease for right now? The ambulance thing one, for the building there, I guess we had been leasing that property for 30 years, and now we're looking to buy it for 2.5.
Okay.
So there's some misplanning here. So that's the one I want to get more clear there. And I think the Washington Street one is a very good example. Where
Okay, so the comments are supposed to be on the agenda
okay,
items.
so number 4, Washington Street.
Thank you.
I will stay very close towards there. Okay. I think we should reject that thing more towards we're not well prepared there. Okay, what we put out in the plan, both of the plans, what we put out did not match with what we needed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on items 2, 3, 4, or 6 on the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board and further comment? And if none, look for a motion for items 2, 3, 4, and 6.
Chair, I'll move. Yeah, weird thing going on here today.
Yeah.
All right, can you hear me now? All right, Chair, I'll move to approve those consent items.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have motion by Supervisor Campbell, second by Supervisor Kirk. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Okay, so back to the clerk. Let's go ahead and start with number 1, please, if you could read.
Item 1, awarding an architectural design and construction services agreement to Four Creeks, Inc. for the remodel of Snell Street, Cedar Road, Highway 108, and Columbia Way properties in the amount of $710,300 and authorize the county administrator to sign all related documents.
Supervisor Kirk.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, Mo.
That's all right.
I gave you a heads up yesterday. So when I was reviewing the packet for these properties, I'll tell you, I didn't go past Snell Street. I kind of dived into Snell Street because when I look at the project, basically what we're going to do, you know, there's a roof replacement coming, backyard drainage, concrete features, patio, sidewalks, retaining wall, a little bit of grading, some landscaping. Cool, I get that. But then when I go to what the $80,000 is buying us, it's buying us planning for all that. And so I'm confused at the lowest level. Like if I'm hiring a contractor to do concrete work, wouldn't they design it, do the work? If I'm hiring a roofer to do the work, wouldn't they design it, do the work? So I know it's grant money. I know it's not general fund money, but I'm getting weary of money spent on this issue. The community is. And if we're spending $80,000 on talking about the things that we got to address, which is going to be another huge sum of money, I'm worried that the rest of the document, the rest of these other projects are following the same suit. And so my concern is I just feel like it's bloated. I feel like $80,000 could be basically spread out throughout each one of these projects in one way or another. And I don't mean to come off in a condescending way, but like I just don't understand that. So if that's being applied to Snell Street, then I feel like it's probably being applied to other things. So what I would recommend, I don't know if we even have to have design, but why can't we have a roof contractor design the roof? Why can't we have a concrete guy design the concrete work and just start putting that money towards beautifying the projects and making it pleasing for the community to see instead of another plan and then have to spend more money later?
Okay, so number 1, we're government. Okay, that it just is. So there are 2 ways for government to do construction projects. One is design, bid, build. The other one is design, build. Okay, and so what you were talking about is hiring somebody to do like the concrete work or to re-engineer the backyard area in which we need to do, because we have significant mitigation that we need to do in regards to the water coming in and protecting the homes that we've just purchased. If we were to do that, that would be the design build method. But because there's so many different disciplines involved in each one of these projects, it doesn't, it's more cost efficient, it's more resource efficient if we do the design design, bid, build method of taking care of these projects. So in that, we are required to have building permits. And in order for me to have a building permit, or the county to have a building permit to proceed with this project, I need to have a design. I need to have a stamped engineer look at the topography, design the drainage, making sure we're not impacting the neighbors, making sure we're not having water go into the roadway where we cause more problems. So I am required to have obtain necessary professionals in order to give me the plans, in order for me to have the permit, in order for me to do the work.
And how many bids did we get on this for the design?
2. There were
2?
2 bids. Aspen Street Architects and Four Creeks. And one of the other questions that you asked me the other day that I want to hit upon is there's a reason we bundled these projects together. You know, instead of going out for each of the 5 projects, we bundled them. And we bundled them because there's economy of scale. So instead of,
I don't want you to waste too much time talking.
Okay.
So we are required, we can't have individual contractors, for instance, for roofing, for concrete work, for an engineer wall. This is the process that we are mandated to do by law.
yes.
Okay.
Again, government.
I figured that was the case. I'm frustrated with it. I think it's a waste of money. I think $80,000 is ridiculous. I think I could hire somebody right now to do it for 10, but unless the board feels the same, then I understand. I understand.
Supervisor Campbell.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mo, for that description. When you say you're required to do these things, is this a county requirement, like a county ordinance, or this some kind of state?
The government code requires it. And then that's the first
state
layer.
government code.
Right. That's my first layer. And then my second layer is then being able to make sure that the work is done correctly based upon the building codes that Tuolumne County has adopted.
Okay. And then these funds, are they, that we're talking about, are they general fund
No.
dollars? Is it money that could otherwise be spent on, deputies and libraries and roads and that kind of thing?
This money is all grant money for the sole purpose of creating housing units in the county for these purposes.
So it is we're all talking about taxpayer money at
It
the end
is
of the
tax
day,
dollars.
but it's spread out across the entire state and not just our residents where this money is coming from.
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Brampton.
Great, thank you. And this reminded me, I think, of a very good point Supervisor Campbell had made. It might have been 3 or 4 months. Time gets wonky up here. But it was looking at what we can do when we have these contracts. We understand, I think, that there are obviously public resource and contracting code requirements of what we have to do. But is there anything we're able to adjust without having to put out an RFP to take out a tree stump? Not that low of level, but to ensure a little bit more of this work is competitive for local contractors, or that we're able to bring that in. I understand why we need to move these forward, the fact that this is through the grant funding as well, and that there's other timelines with that. I'm okay with it moving forward, but that is where my interest would be. Within that bid process, are they able to do these designs in such a way that some of this can go to a general contractor locally, or we're able to help them be able to bid on public projects because maybe they don't know or are familiar with the different requirements? Basically, we're spending a lot of money on these things. The more we can support locally, I think the is better, but I don't know what those tools are that other counties might utilize. I think Supervisor Campbell had recommended at some point a discussion on the bidding process. Correct me if I'm getting it wrong, but to see what opportunities might be there. And I would really welcome that discussion at some point.
So
Thank you for remembering when I make a good point.
I listen.
They come rarely, so it's good to make a little note of it.
Yeah. Supervisor Brandon, even though we did bundle the architectural design for this for several reasons, we are not going to bundle the construction part of it for exactly the reasons you said. We really want to encourage and have local contractors do each one of these projects. So they will be of the cost estimate for each one of these will be such that local contractors will be able to bond for it and be able to do it. So each one of these projects will go out separately for that reason.
And thank you for saying that last part. I appreciate that.
I did have one more question I forgot to ask.
Supervisor
It's quick.
yes.
With these, obviously we're in the design phase. I just want to make sure, like I see fencing and whatnot. Have we already had conversations with that, like for instance, Snell Street, with that community to get their input? That way we're getting that input on the front end with the design, like if they want a fence in a certain area. We did that already?
We did that already, yes.
Sure. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, look for public comment on item number 1. Good day again.
Thank you. I could certainly be mistaken, but I recall when we were talking about purchasing Snell Street, I understood it to be turnkey ready. And there was a significant amount of reconstruction and remodeling on those properties before they went up for sale. So now I'm understanding that it needs a new roof, if I understand that correctly. So I'm a little confused about what the definition of turnkey is when we're purchasing something, and then when it comes to using it, that all changes.
Excuse me. Any additional public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Supervisor Randall.
Great, thank you. I just realized something that I've been talking about with staff is relevant to this item. This is related to the Miners Motel. I know we're talking about an architectural design for all of them, but actually what had been mentioned there with Supervisor Kerr's question, we've had with each of these properties a number of stakeholder meetings with the community to talk about what that architectural design will be. One of these is within my district, that's the Miners Motel.
Yes.
But extensive discussions with the community there, and one sticking point I think that we came away from there was the pool, and whether that, as part of this, the direction is going to be to basically remove that or not. There's kind of a disconnect right now between, I think, what a recommendation is from in county staff, what is the best kind of site for the clientele that will be there, versus a lot of the input that we had received from the community versus kind of what I see as like, all we need is another pool that we can't take care of, right? And so I wanted to ask if that is going to be part of what we're asking them to design in this architectural study.
Absolutely. So in the description, each one of these properties is a pretty fairly detailed start on the scope of work for each site and what we heard from the community, what we've heard from the board, and now what we're asking the architect to design. One of those elements is the pool. So in the description, we have asked Four Creeks Architectural firm to please fill in the pool for us.
Great. Thank you for the confirmation on that. A lot of people have been asking.
You're welcome.
Okay. If there's nothing else from the board, I'll look for a motion on consent item number 1 only.
Yeah, I'd be happy to make the motion. Going kind of to Supervisor Kirk's comments, I see where you're coming from with the Snell Street property. The other two, I'd say, I remember kind of some of the discussions that we had about it and sort of accepting the fact that there was going to be a big bill coming if we purchase these properties, but because there is this funding available now, that we should act on it. So that's kind of where I was coming from, because otherwise this would be a cost that, as we talked about before, that would be borne by the citizens of Tuolumne County alone. And I think this is, if this was that conversation, I would certainly have second thoughts about it. But I think if we have this funding available now, while it is a high cost, the state said that they will cover it. So we should take advantage of that.
And I'll say that I briefly looked at the other two, and I was able to stomach those a little bit more. But when I dive into it and I look at some of these fees, I'm just like, the state's in a deficit. We've put billions of dollars towards homeless stuff, and this is part of the reason why we've spent so much money on so many things. And when you, as a board member, when like you see the bigger picture and you're just supposed to move forward, but you get caught up on those dirty details, and you're like, ugh, that's where I'm caught up right now, is these details of like a cost estimation for I literally think this is probably 2 days worth of planning, and it's going to cost us $80,000. So I get it. I know it's being paid for by other grants and other things. I'm just stuck on these details, and so let's just make the vote and move it forward, because I get it. But thank you for hearing me out.
This is the issue. It's like decisions that are made at the legislature. Yep. That we're stuck at the end of a long series of choices, and we at the county level end up with a choice. Well, do we spend this money, or do we not do the program? And it's not always easy, and it puts a lot of pressure on local agencies, I think, that others in state government don't have to.
Well, at least we can turn around and give it to local contractors to do the work. That's a good point, so thanks for bringing that up.
That's a good point, too. Chair, I'll move on the staff recommendation. on those properties.
I'll second.
Okay, have a motion by Supervisor Campbell, seconded by Supervisor Brandon. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
And no, any abstain? Okay, 3-1 with Supervisor Kirk voting no. Okay, if the clerk can, that concludes our consent calendar. If we can move on to item number 7.
Item number 7, presentation of Woman of the Year from Senator Alvarado Gil to Mary Ann Schmidt.
Good morning. We have a representative with us today, and Supervisor Brandon, did you want to assist, or?
I think I'm holding the certificate.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Chair Goldenberg and supervisors. My name is Heidi Meyerhofer, and I am here on behalf of Senator Marie Alvarado Gil. Before we begin, I'd like to thank you for having us here today to celebrate Tuolumne County's Woman of the Year honoree. Some brief background on why I'm here. Back in mid-January, our office opened up the nomination process for Senate District 4's honoree for the 2024 California Making History. This was a month-long process of collecting names from all of our 13 counties, and then going through and selecting honorees from each county to recognize across the district. Nomination requirements were that nominees must be a woman of 18 years of age or older. She must live in Senate District 4, requested a resume, biography, or list of accomplishments, and a letter of recommendation from a local elected official. Answering the following question: how has this woman influenced your community to create a better place for all? Mary Ann's nomination was sent to us by Tuolumne County Supervisor Jaron Brandon. And I spoke with Jaron a little bit this morning, and he was marveling at how Mary Ann, later in life, but not too late, began this process of bringing people into county government and really making a difference. She's been recognized in Supervisor Brandon's words as ever the quiet community organizer and volunteer. She's brought many new people into the county, Tuolumne County government. Mary Ann provides immense campaign and candidate support to those aspiring to serve Tuolumne County. Mary Ann works diligently to keep the public informed on topics that will affect the residents of Tuolumne County. She has served as the Red Cross emergency volunteer, and she has served for 3 years on the Tuolumne County Behavioral Health Advisory Board. In her nomination submission, Supervisor Brandon says, Mary Ann is one of those people that works tirelessly behind the scenes. The more you look at her, the more you find she is an independent voice for change who works exceptionally hard to see effective local government. It is for these reasons that on behalf of California State Senator Marie Alvarado Gil, we are honored to recognize Mary Ann Schmidt as a Senate District 4 honoree for the 2024 California Making History. Mary Ann, would you come up? Okay.
He is over 18.
sure if I could turn around, but I probably can't. I wanted to also to speak to our community. It is with a humble heart that I accept this award as Woman of the Year. Yesterday, I got a text referring to me as a troublemaker, and I took that as a compliment. Well-behaved women seldom make her story, and I raise my voice respectfully, not so that I can shout, but for those without a voice can be heard. As most leaders know, one does not do things alone. Looking out at this audience tells me the real her story of what has been done in this county. Each of you contributes to this beautiful rural county, and you will continue every single day of your life. Do not underestimate what you have done and what you will continue to do. From making a simple phone call to a friend in need, to running a political campaign, or for running for an elected office, to delivering meals to our seniors, to supporting a family whose home burned down, to taking care of a friend or relative who has just gone through a tough surgery, to collecting groceries for those in need of food, to making sure there are services for women who experience domestic violence, to starting a private school to meet the needs of our curious children, to educating us about racism in our community and our nation at large, to reminding us of how good it feels to hear a great story, to tutor a child in need, to support women's reproductive rights, to helping another county or another country with a healthcare plan, to empowering our people in prisons to rebuild their lives, to reminding elected officials about things they forgot to think about, to giving a platform for our youth to speak, to organizing a library in our local jail, to walking with a friend for the needed exercise, but to also process life at the same time. And lastly, to being observant about what we as women can do. There is no limit. For each time we stand up as a single woman, we stand up for all women. What shall we accomplish today? I can't wait to see. My sincere thanks to the Tuolumne County community.
All right, excuse me. So, look to the board. I don't think we're really going to have questions, but maybe if there's a question, Supervisor Brandon.
No, I have
okay.
only comments.
Okay. Let's go ahead and go for public comments first, please. Anybody would like to speak? Please.
Good morning, Board. Dory Beats, Tuolumne County Office of Emergency Services. I want to tell you a little story. Before I started my job here, it was the summer of 2019, I do believe, in June. It was a lovely Father's Day weekend. My husband and stepdaughters and I, we all went to Reno for the weekend. And on our way back, of course, we were traveling over Highway 108 Pass. We took a right turn off of 395, and it looked quite stormy ahead. But we ventured forward, and we got a little way up, and we had to stop. There was a line of cars that stopped. It was snowing. It was Father's Day weekend. And in front of us was this van, and this lady came out of the van, and she started to try to put some chains on, and I told my husband, get out of the car and help her. And so he got out. He was wearing shorts. It was June. And we exchanged phone numbers because she decided that she wasn't going to wait until the road cleared. We were going to venture forward. We have four-wheel drive. She was going to go around a long way, Highway 4. We exchanged phone numbers, and she was going to text me. I wanted to make sure that she made it home. She was by herself. My husband and I ventured up. It was quite a show. There were a series of Corvettes that were stuck at the top. But we finally made it down, and as we were getting into Miwok Sugar Pine, I got a text. She made it home before we did. And so that lovely lady was Marianne Schmidt. And when I started my role here a year and a half later after that, she was one of the first that called me and said, Dory, we got to work on things. And ever since, she has been an incredible supporter and advocate for OES. She was one of the first to help create our Access and Functional Needs Advisory to OES, and we're very excited, and I'm honored and grateful. Thank you, Marianne.
Would anybody else like to speak? Good morning.
Aloha kakahiaka kako. I'm Nikki Coleman. I'm originally from Hawaii and living here in Sonora. I'm away from my aunties and my grandmother and the women in my family, and I've often missed the mana of those women, the deep energy, the get-her-done attitude, the surround your community with support and love that I feel there. Marianne is one of those women who has the mana, as many other women in this room do today, and they make me feel like I'm at home, and they remind me of the essence that I get from my Hawaiian aunties and my grandma in my home. I applaud Marianne for all of the work that she does in this community. Someone mentioned earlier that she does it very quietly. She's very humble, and I'm so proud to be able to celebrate her on a little bit louder of a level today. She inspires our youth. She inspires other women in our county to use their voices in a respectful and meaningful and impactful way. She speaks my language. So I thank you all for acknowledging her today, and I thank Senator Alvarado Gil's office for being here today to acknowledge her. Many people, when I've worked on projects with Marianne, we introduce ourselves and I say, why are you here? And they say, because Marianne asked me to be, and you don't tell Marianne no. And so I'd encourage all of us, when Marianne asks you, get involved, don't say no, step up. And Marianne, I have so much love and mana for you, and I'm just so glad to aloha you today.
Somebody else like to speak? Yes, sir.
I'm really often not at I struggle to put words together for this. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Marianne Schmidt when she approached me. Really this entire group of women. I think this award, like you're looking at my political influences, everyone that got me involved in government right now. I owe everything I have in my political career to this crew here. I guess some of you now know who to thank, and I'd like to think a very small minority, now you know who to blame for me happening. I lost my grandparents a long time ago, well over a decade, and Marianne has kind of been almost like a surrogate, sage elder to me. I put a lot of value in taking the experience of some of our, esteemed members of our community and really distilling that, trying to lead by their example. And I really can't think of a better person to receive this award, or someone that set a better example over the years than Marianne Schmidt. I sincerely hope that when the history books get written on this era of Tuolumne County, I've said to many people, I truly feel we're on the cusp of a renaissance here in our community. I feel a lot of momentum, and that is in no small part to this woman receiving this award. Not just speaking for myself, but a lot of the youth movements, things happening behind the scenes, getting more involved in local government, realizing what a huge difference we can make here locally. I know there's always a lot of frustration at the federal level of gridlock and things, and in a world where, there's so much division and fighting and deadlock like that, Mary Ann has been a shining light to show that true progress is possible when we think locally, when we organize, and she's making every day a government by, for, and of the people. I am proof of that. I think in some of our recent elections, you could find further proof of the impact that this woman has had on our community. I can't thank her and the team of women enough. It's just an honor to be associated with her. And thank you, Senator Alvarado Gil, for the wonderful acknowledgement of a true mover and shaker in our community.
Thank you. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Claire Mills, and I raised a grandson through various factors. And Mary Ann, during Simon's elementary school time, Mary Ann tutored him. And it gave me a picture of what can be done when someone believes in a child, excuse me, when someone helps to elevate that child and to bring that child to their higher self. My grandson is now in college, and I think partly because of Mary Ann's influence, because he could see all the things that she was doing, his declared major is in social work, and he will be a social worker. And I hope he comes back to Tuolumne County, but if he doesn't, he's going to bring what Mary Ann gave him to wherever he is. So I'm so proud for her, and I'm so proud to know her. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak? All right, I don't see any takers there, so I'll bring it back to the board. Supervisor Campbell, if you want to.
All right, okay. It's hard to follow that because I agree with everything has been said. Mary Ann is, I'm going to take credit for the troublemaker comment. She is the perfect example of what an involved citizen should be. And Mary Ann has encouraged me and inspired me and challenged me in so many different ways over the years, and really showed me qualities in myself that I didn't even know I had. And she's just one of those kind of people. And I think everybody here can probably think of an instance where Mary Ann has showed us, hey, you can really do this. And so really, by highlighting the contributions that Mary Ann Schmidt has made in our community, we're highlighting contributions that many of us have made in our community, because a lot of us, she's kind of this hub of activity and engagement in the community. And I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to recognize that right now. When I think of the dozens of people that you've inspired over the years, you are a true believer in the concept that if you want to complain, you have to do something about it. I have never heard Mary Ann ever complain about an issue without following it with a plan on how to resolve that. And that's a special quality, especially in this day and age when it's really easy to complain. It's really easy to point out the flaws in our government, in our local government, in our society, and then just throw up your hands and say the problem's too big. But if you break it down to the local level, you can really have significant change, and Mary Ann has done that in so many different ways. It's a bit of a cliche now, but she truly lives the idea that you need to be the change that you want to see in your community. So thank you, Mary Ann, for believing in me, for making me a better person, a better supervisor, and a better man. I hope you will continue to do the wonderful work that you do in our community, and I'm happy to stand side by side with you at any time and be a troublemaker with you, because I intended that comment as a badge of honor, because I see myself as a troublemaker as well. So let's continue making trouble and making our community move in a direction that I think is better for everyone. So, thank you, Marianne.
Supervisor Brandon.
Great, thank you. And really well said. I think I wanted to hit on one element too is every time anything is inferred that Marianne may be of an older persuasion, you can see her wince in the back there. Because you wouldn't know from all of the things that she does that this is not somebody in their 20s. I mean, I challenge anybody to find somebody who is more dedicated. That's the joke in Tuolumne, right? You retire and you get more busy. Who spends more of their time serving others on various committees, showing up to meetings, and model citizen is a really excellent word. I can hear when Dory was talking about that, you know, Dory, we've got work to do. We got things we need to talk about. In Marianne's voice, in my head. And I think a lot of people in this room can. I'm not even sure that I've really scratched the surface of everything that you're actually involved in. But I've had the privilege working with you on boards and on community issues. And I wanted to throw out, too, that, you know, to anybody listening, agree or disagree on this stuff, you have to respect somebody that shows up who is not a bystander, who is an active citizen, who sees problems and says, what are we doing about it? What are you doing about it? I know what I'm doing about it and is always willing to give. As somebody that, in her belief in trying to, I think, make a cleaner world, hauls around her own plate and cup set and everything with that. It's somebody who volunteers for disaster and emergency preparedness with the Red Cross. It's somebody who has been a passionate fighter for behavioral health. We don't get many of those people that step up in that same way. Not enough. If we lived in a world that was full of Mariannes, we would be in a much better world that might have a long public comment, but it would be a place that everybody cared about their community. And so I just want to say to you, to my friend, to somebody that has been an immense supporter, somebody who has, at points like a good friend, told me you're full of it when I've needed to hear that. And on behalf of the people that I represent, thank you for being a model of somebody who, when they were older, chose to get involved and take it up a magnitude higher and really make a massive amount of change and influence in this community. And that's something that is incredibly inspiring to me as a younger person, that no matter what age, no matter the background, you can be able to change your community and your world for the better. So, Marianne, I just appreciate you. I couldn't think of a better person that this would honor. And I wanted to also say, Heidi, thank you for making the trek up here and to the state senator's office, because this is an opportunity to recognize somebody that deserves it. It's fully deserving of it. And that's very special. And I appreciate you being here to present that. And also fancy plaque and frame and everything, too. It looks great. So, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Supervisor Kirk, do you have any?
I'm up here debating on if I should say anything because as an elected supervisor, people want to hear your opinions, but sometimes your opinions don't match up with people in the room. So I'm going to try and make this really brief. I get the process for the election for Women of the Year is through Gil's office. It was done by Supervisor Brandon, but I'm really bummed out that our board didn't get to weigh in on this process, because although we didn't get to weigh in on the process to get it here, it's here before us, and now we have to make comment on it going out. So I'm bummed out because I've known Marianne. I've worked with her. I think she's amazing. But the way that this memo is written really puts me in the corner, because we're talking about justice and equality, which I don't know where this individual stands on justice and equality. We talk about women's reproductive rights. Another word for that is abortion. Another word for that is the murder of the unborn, which for me is the most moral. Just hear me out. I'm telling you why I'm in a bad spot. And then advocating against gun violence. I agree with that, but a lot of people also view that, including myself, as potentially coming against our Second Amendment rights. So the way the memo is written is disheartening, because what I heard today, which really was positive, was like delivering meals to family, the Red Cross, domestic violence against racism, tutoring children in need. I've shared with Marianne before that my wife's a homeschool mom. Like I see that in her. Prison rehabilitation. I work in that environment. We need more Mariannes in that environment. So I'm bummed out because specifically, with the Second Amendment and the reproductive rights, I wish this could have come to the board so we could have crafted it in a way, or if we could change the memo in such a way that we could all support it. But the way it's making me support somebody who believes in abortion, and I never have nor will I ever support that. But if it were all the other things, Marianne, I'd support you. And in your own words, I raise my voice respectfully. And I hope you can understand where I'm at today. So if the board was willing to change the recommendation for all those other great things that weren't included that should have been, but instead it was more about justice, equality, women's reproductive rights, and gun violence, then I'm not in alignment with the recommendation. That's it.
Supervisor Campbell.
Yeah, and I can respect your position on that. I would just say with respect to the process, Supervisor Brandon took the initiative to reach out to Senator Gill's office and make this request. I didn't do that. You didn't do that. Nobody else did that. And so we have to respect that process, that not everything is going to be done in a way where we all get a particular say in exactly how it goes. And I would just say, there are people, just about anybody in the community that you can think of that is active and does anything good is going to have views and opinions that you don't agree with. I mean, I can think of a number of people that are very active. But if you accept the idea that our community would be less well off without them, then I think that alone is worth celebrating individuals in our community, and I think that's a perfect example here. Whether you agree with everything one person stands for or not, if you can agree that 51% of the effort that they put into our community is good, then I think it's worth celebrating that, because there are a lot of people that don't contribute in any meaningful way. So.
Okay. First of all, I don't think any one of us individually or as a body should be taking stance publicly on things like abortion, women's rights. Women's rights are very important, but they shouldn't be taken and put in a negative aspect. That it's just wrong. We support everybody in this community. I do appreciate Supervisor Brandon for making the nomination. I think that's important and an excellent choice. Marianne's made a lot more contributions than have been, shown here, discussed. The list would be around the block. She's just done a tremendous amount of things. All the work she's done, for public service, committees, Red Cross, recently getting very involved there. The things that she does, throughout her life, the tutoring, and that's a real passion of hers to do that. And yes, she's also an activist, and she gets stuff done. And I don't know, somebody said that she's pretty quiet. I've seen Marianne make plenty of noise. Marianne has helped me personally, helped me grow, As I was campaigning, we had many discussions, and she was an asset, for me. So anyways, I'm just really pleased that we're here today honoring you, Marianne. You deserve it. Thank you very much. Okay, so that concludes item 7. I'm sorry, did we? Okay, yeah. Our board is going to go into closed session, so I'd like to have the clerk read the closed session items.
And please convey our deepest thanks to Maria Alvarado-Gil for recognizing the wonderful citizens we have in our community.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Oh, whatever. Item number 8, closed session, public employee appointment, Authority Government Code Section 54957B1, Director of Library and Recreation Services. Item number 9, closed session, public employee performance evaluation, Authority Government Code Section 54957B1, Title Animal Control Director.
Okay, we're still in session here. Continue, please.
Item number 10, closed session, conference with real property negotiations, price and terms, Authority Government Code Section 54956.8. Negotiators Tracy Riggs, County Administrator, Maureen Frank, Capital Projects Director, and Michael Roberson, Senior Administrative Analyst, related to property located at 22039 Parrots Ferry Road, Assessor's Parcel Number 032-240-001-00, Sonora, California. Negotiating parties Carolyn Sharp and Christian Sharp. Item number 11, closed session, conference with labor negotiators Tracy Riggs, County Administrator, and Karen McGettigan, Human Resources Director / Manager, Authority Government Code Section 54957.6, all bargaining units.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so before we go in closed session, I'll call for public comment on any item that's listed under closed session. If you'd like to come up and speak. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Joe Rotifer. I'm glad to see there's an appreciation for, what was that, troublemaking women of an elderly age. I resemble that remark. Anyway, real quick, short and sweet, much like myself. The closed session item number 10. I'm going to refer back to the consent calendar item number 1. It seems to be the general consensus of everybody that I've listened to at what few public meetings we've had. Thank you for making a few of those happen, Sharon. I don't see anywhere where there's going to be a town hall meeting on this issue of that Parrots Ferry property, but this property seems to have so many issues that nobody has addressed, nobody even knew about till they were brought to your board's attention. And it just seems like there's so many things that need to be looked into before you open that big can of worms. There's multiple issues with that property that I don't see any plan for addressing, for any kind of mitigation issues. I just see no planning, no long-term. Well, I love the comment this morning. Oh, well, we've got the money now. We've got the money now. I don't see any long-term planning for this stuff. I just don't. So you're going to be in this continual do loop unless you start doing some long-term planning. I implore you, don't pass this thing on Parrots Ferry. It's just going to be a monster project. It's going to go on and on and on before it's even suitable for habitation. So there you go.
Good morning.
Good morning. Karen Mariano Luckhart, owner of Inner Sanctum Cellars. My property sits right across the street from the property in the proposal. In conversations I've had with people from the county and based on the due diligence statement, there were apparently 24, maybe 26 properties that came available through the public notice period. Out of those, only 14 were looked at. Now, there was no criteria presented to you guys as far as how those properties were looked at, how they were eliminated. It came down to, as said to me by one of the county staff, it was the only multi-dwelling property out of those 24. And once that was determined, that was the go. So those other 14 properties that were not looked at, who knows whether there was a house on there that had 8 bedrooms that could have housed some of these people. Now, I want to ask you, have you been out to my property? Do you know where my property sits next to the proposed property? Anybody? Jaron has. David? Anaya? Ryan? Okay, you know where I'm at, okay? But have you been on my property to see how this proposal is going to affect my property? You have due diligence that you need to do so that you see how this project is going to impact my property. Now, another thing, the county is going to be in negotiations with the property owners today. If the price comes down, you're all going to pat each other on the back and you're going to say, hey, good, we came down on the price. But the amount of money, just like this Snell Street project, the amount of money that it's going to take to fix that property, whether it comes down in price, it's grant money. That grant money is going to run out. And then what are you going to use to fix that property after that? As Joe said, there are so many problems with this property, so many. And it's going, as Kathleen Half said, it's going to be a money pit. So I urge you to please, first of all, come and look at the location. Do your due diligence, and then look at the long term. These properties that we're going to spend $810,000 on, this is exactly what you're going to be doing with this property, okay? 26 houses, only 14 got looked at. That's a shame. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak?
I'm also co-owner of Inner Sanctum Cellars. I think it's pretty clear we're not in support of this particular project. I want to make sure I'm clear. We are in support of behavioral health. We understand you guys have mandates, that you have issues that you have to be dealt with. We are aware of that. We strongly feel that the location that you guys have been suggested by staff is not the right location. I spent 28 years in the fire service. I've been through proposals like this before. No one here has one of these facilities right next door to them, and no one can guarantee that there's not going to be issues that none of us foresee. This is our home. It's our business. We do live on this property. You're dropped right around. Everybody that's around you is not in support of this location. We know the property. You guys need to do your due diligence. I know the staff has done some work. I'm assuming you're going to talk about that today. Please look at those issues. Please understand, we feel that the folks that are going to be relocated there, if this were to happen, is setting them up for failure. This is not the right location. Please, I implore you to look at other locations. I know the time is limited. This is not the only solution to your problem. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak? Okay, we're going to go into closed session. I don't believe, but I'll look to county council. Do we expect to report out on any item? Okay, so we don't expect to report out, so we'll recess into closed session. We'll take let's take a 15-minute break and then we'll start closed session. Thank you.